Hey, what's going on, Bills Nation? Thanks for joining me. I'm your host, Jason Mattis. I'm a writer over at buffalodown.com. You can find all my great articles over there, as well as all the other articles out there. We're putting out Buffalo Bills content 365 days a year for you. As for these shows, thanks for joining me every Sunday night. We do these 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. When we wrap up the Buffalo Bills game that was held on previous that day. And today's game was a Buffalo Bills 30-23 win over the Las Vegas Raiders. An exciting and a thrilling and a really awesome game to watch. That moves the Bills now to 4-0. You guys remember on the pregame show that we do every Thursday at 3:30 p.m. Eastern time, I predicted the Bills to cover the spread. I will just go ahead and mention it. You guys see my channel name, and also I'm sitting in front of this wall. I give daily sports betting advice. Well, on Thursday's pregame show, I predicted that the Bills would cover that 3.5, depending on where your book is, spread. And the Bills did exactly that, winning the game 30-23. Before I want to get into the game, but we've been talking in the post-game show the first 3 weeks, and we've been started off with that offense, and rightfully so. I mean, Josh Allen has been carrying that offense through the first 3 weeks, racking up unprecedented numbers, that quarterbacks in Buffalo haven't seen in a very long time. But I want to start on today's show with that defense. We've got to give this defense some love. I thought this defense played really good. In the first 3 weeks, they weren't really challenged because Buffalo was able to, jump out to such a big lead. They were letting teams get back into it. Obviously, that they let the Rams get all the way back into it and even take the lead. But, they had that questionable interception that really swung momentum in that game. Today, there weren't really too many questionable calls. You just had a really good defense performance, I think, overall by this Bills defense. And one where, when you're watching that game, you're thinking, man, this Bills defense doesn't seem to be as strong as it was maybe last year's defense, that top 3, top 5 defensive unit. But what this defensive unit did today, they got stops when they needed, they forced field goals when they needed, and they got the all-important turnovers when they needed. And that, is a credit to how great that this Buffalo Bills defense generally has been under the tenure of Sean McDermott. We take it back all the way to the first half in this game. You guys remember, they were able to force the Raiders into early field goals. When the Bills were getting, 2 early touchdowns in the field goal, they were holding the Raiders to 2 field goals. And if they're not able to do that, that game has a lot different feel to it. Instead of the Bills having a, double-digit lead, obviously you're talking about 2 teams going back and forth. Maybe it's 7-7, 14-14, what have you there. So if you guys remember, it all started on that Raiders' first drive. It was 3rd and 1. And the Bills got a very big stop when the Raiders attempted to run the ball, and that forced a 54-yard field goal. So that was very big of a stop there. The second one, you could definitely say they got lucky. As you guys recall, the Raiders hit them with a big 40-yard touchdown that got called back due to an illegal formation. But then credit the Bills, and they buckled down there and forced another field goal. So just a really, good defense there. And then in the second half, I mean, look at how this defense rose up when things – we're getting really tight there. It was 17-16, then it was 23-16. It was really tight and really nervous. The Raiders were doing what other teams were able to do, generally to the Bills in the second half, is able to snatch that momentum. And it's like, okay, here they come. They get that field goal the Raiders do to start the second half. Then they get a punt. Then the defense gets a big fumble. You get Jordan Poyer, with the tackle, and Norman coming in there with the punch out. That was very good. Then on the next Raiders drive, they force them out. They get a turnover on downs. And then the next drive, that's where Quentin Jefferson comes up with the big fumble there, which was just an absolute outstanding individual effort to fight through his blocker, knock the ball away, and then fight to jump on that ball and recover the fumble. That was absolutely outstanding play by Jefferson. And then the Raiders obviously get the late touchdown, which forces a little bit of a late drama, but I mean, it's really hard to get an onside kick, and the Bills, have one of the better hands teams with Micah Hyde usually catching them. I think Johnson and Joseph, I think, caught this one today. But either way, just a really, really good. And those were the drives there for the Raiders in the second half. Just a really, really strong defensive performance there in the second half when the Bills needed it. Because we'll talk about the offense, but the offense in the second half wasn't clicking. They had 2 consecutive drives where they punted the ball, and that's a time when if the defense isn't playing at its elite level as it has under Sean McDermott, the Raiders will come right back and maybe get some points, field goals, maybe even touchdowns. So just a really, really good job. And like I said, I think it was warranted that we start off the show talk about this defense because the offense, like I said, is definitely, they've made all the headlines through the first weeks of all the passing numbers that they've put up. Josh Allen, all the records with 300 and 400-yard passing games. But this one here is on the defense. Like I said, Norman, he stepped in really big. He came in for Levi Wallace. He was injured on the very first series there with some sort of leg, ankle injury. And this is why they went out and got Norman. I think they got Norman to be the starter. But, even in a healthy situation where maybe they were easing him back in, so maybe he's not fully healthy. But this is why you have a Josh Norman. You can plug in an extremely talented veteran, not only a veteran, but a veteran who has been in the Pro Bowl under this system in Sean McDermott up under the Carolina Panthers. So just a really nice job by Norman coming in for the injured Levi Wallace. The other big injury they had on the defense was obviously Matt Milano, getting injured late there in the fourth quarter. The surprising thing with that was it wasn't A.J. Klein, though, that came in and replaced him. Normally, earlier in the season when Matt Milano was out due to the hamstring injury, you saw A.J. Klein. I know at that time they also had Edmonds out, so maybe this is their plans, that if Milano goes down, they prefer Dotson over Klein. It's really hard to tell, like I said, because Edmonds and Milano went down in the same game and missed the same amount of time there. But it was just interesting. We know Klein got burned earlier in the game with Jason Witten on the touchdown, so maybe that played into it. But either way, Dotson came in instead of Klein. He played really, really well. So it is just a really good job. And remember, those fumbles and turnovers, it all started when the game was 23-16 after the Bills got that touchdown. And it was an opportunity for the Raiders then to answer and get back into that game themselves. But the defense didn't do that. Just a really good stand-up performance from the defense. When I was definitely watching that game, thinking, earlier on, like, this just doesn't feel like the dominant defense that we've seen. Normally in years past under McDermott, it's been the defense making all the plays and the offense, maybe coming up just short or not doing enough, or, they can't put up 30 points a game when the defense maybe doesn't have its A game. No. The defense absolutely showed up in that second half. Again, field goal and then punt, fumble, turnover on downs, fumble, and then obviously they give up that late touchdown against some relatively soft coverage. But either way, it's definitely still a touchdown. So, you got to credit the Raiders on that. So before I move on into the offense, let me jump into the comments section, see if we've got anything going on. I do have the comments section up. If you guys got anything you want to say, just give a shout out, and we'll make those known here on the show. But let's flip it over to the offense. We've talked about the pregame show that happens every Thursday at 3:30 p.m. Eastern time right here on YouTube Live. We've talked about how there's been one, just recognizable thing that's happened in all three games. This is the Bills offense getting off to a fast start. It struggled under McDermott under the first 3 years. They weren't able to come out and start games with points. They were a much better second half team than they were a first half team. Seems like this season it's definitely script, or at least in the first three games. Obviously, the offense sputtered a little bit in the second half and was letting these teams get back into it. This season, though, first half, they're getting off to extremely fast starts. They start off the game with an 8-play, 75-yard drive that ends with that nice 26-yard TD to a wide-open Gabriel Davis there in the end zone. They come right back with an 11-play, 75-yard. That was capped off by an excellent throw-in catch, which was an 11-yard touchdown by Cole Beasley. Just a really nice job by him going up over the defender in the end zone and hauling that touchdown pass by Cole Beasley. Then the next drive was an 11-play, 59-yard drive, and that one ended in the 39-yard field goal there by Tyler Bass. So 3 straight drives of really, good yardage, 75, 75, and 59. But then the amount of plays, 8-play, 11, and 11. That's what good offenses do, and that's what we have seen all season. And again, like we've talked about here on these post-game shows, it just looks so easy. I mean, those first 3 drives, it's just clicking and clicking. I mean, those were their drives in the first half. Obviously, we're not taking away the kneel down, I think, there to end the half. It had 3 drives in the first half, and they come out and they get 17 points. That is perfection. Yeah, you'd like to probably see 3 touchdowns, but they get points nonetheless, coming out fast. That is now what this 2020 Bills offenses definitely have their trademark for. A little bit of sputtering there in the second half, even in this game, which we'll certainly get to, but just a really outstanding job again by the Bills coming out and putting their opponent on the back foot. That really sets you up in a really prime position to win the game when you can come out on your first 3 drives and go TD, field goal. Now, you get a little bit pressure off your defense. They don't have to have, a perfect game, or at least they don't have to come out perfect, because the offense is coming out perfect. That's the side of the ball that's coming out absolutely perfect and just putting up points on the board. And again, just looking so easily as they move the ball down the field. Josh Allen with almost a near 300-yard passing day, ended the day with 288 yards on 71% completion passes. I don't recall the number. We've given them out here on each pregame show, on each postgame show here on Sunday nights. He's been in the 70%. I want to say almost all the games. Maybe I'll look that up before Thursday's pregame show, Thursday at 3:30 p.m. Eastern time. But he's hitting in that 65, 70% in almost every game, just doing a really, really outstanding job. On to the second half, though. What a gutsy call by Sean McDermott on the first drive in the second half. He goes for it there on 4th down. They get that 4th down conversion. I think that's a combination of, you're trusting your offense. That should let you know right there how well this offense is playing, because that ball was around midfield. I think Sean McDermott, in previous seasons, he doesn't have as much confidence in that offense, and he's going to play the punt game. Let me go ahead and punt it, pin them deep, and I'm going to rely on my outstanding defense, hopefully get a, 3 and out, and then we can get the ball off the punt around the same half-yard line, or 50-yard line, with a fresh set of downs. No, not this time. Coming out of the halftime, a gutsy 4th down conversion call. That was really nice, by Sean McDermott. Really lets the guys know that, hey, you guys are awesome. I believe in you guys. You're clicking on all cylinders. Let's go ahead and do it. Like, if we can get a touchdown here, it didn't end up in a touchdown, but if we can get a touchdown here, we really have a chance to bury this team. So just a real nice. I like the gutsy call there by Sean McDermott. It was just a really good gutsy call. The offense was helped out there in that second half by Andre Roberts. Remember when the score was 17-16? The Raiders punted the ball away. Andre Roberts, this is why he's on this team. I'm not a big Andre Roberts guy. I've written articles over at buffalodown.com leading up to the season. I thought Andre Roberts wasn't worth his roster spot. I gave all the data. Last year, he only had 1 nice punt return. Well, this season in 4 games, he's got 1 really nice one today, and what a big spot it was. Hats off to Andre Roberts. Just a nice, excellent 38-yard return. Set the Bills up on the Raiders 44 when it was 17-16, and then they come out off of that punt return on the TD drive, a huge 3rd down and 6 completion of Stephon Diggs, and then what a hell of a catch coming up next by Cole Beasley right on the sidelines. Just a great throw by Josh Allen. And then another hell of a catch by John Brown. Was it a touchdown? I don't know. It doesn't matter, because they ran it in on the QB sneak there right at the first play at the start of the 4th quarter. But big 3rd down catches to Diggs. And then, like I said, just 2 great throws, but 2 maybe even better catches there by Beasley and Brown to really set the Bills up there, on that touchdown, where they were then able to take that lead 23-16. So just really outstanding job. And then the offense then settled down, though. Before they ran into their ruts and they got 2 consecutive punts, they came right back with a 4-play, 60-yard TD drive that was capped by a Singletary run, but it was all set up by a 49-yard absolute bomb from Allen to Stephon Diggs. And the thing about that play is that you got to love, if you're a Bills fan, there is no way that completion happens next season. They don't have, or not next season, I meant last season. They don't have a roster or a receiver on that roster last season that can go up and fight for that contested ball. They wanted it to be Robert Foster. He was terrible with contested catches. He would drop them, all the time. Duke Williams, that's supposed to be his trademark, big body frame. Well, he can't get the separation. He's not going to be able to get down the field like Stephon Diggs down there. They didn't have a receiver. Brandon Beane went out and got the receiver. Like I said, this was just a phenomenal go up over the cornerback, catch that ball, and really set the Bills up to where that touchdown, essentially iced the game. That's at that touchdown, at that point in the game, it was 30-16. And it really felt like the game was kind of over. I mean, yeah, the Raiders, obviously had more chances and they get that late touchdown. But at 30-16, with just how big of a play that was, boy, it felt like that was the icing on the cake there, and that was going to take them to victory. And they didn't have that. Again, Stephon Diggs earlier on that 3rd and 6, the previous drive, the big 49-yard bomb, just an absolutely great, phenomenal play. This offense has completely changed with Stephon Diggs. I mean, the separation he gets and then the openness that he causes. John Brown, John Brown had a great season last year, but he is even better this year because he's not going up against the number 1 corner. He's now able to get more separation. He's already a great wide receiver in his own right. Cole Beasley, obviously working on the slot. He does amazing things there, getting open with his separation and able to break off routes at the top of the tree. So, but yeah, just when I watched that play, I was like, oh, they didn't have that player last season on the roster that can make that play. Stephon Diggs is a game-changing wide receiver, and it really changes this entire offense. Then the offense definitely sputtered after that. That's where they then went 4-play punt. Then they went 3-play punt. Which one of those? And it was the first one. It was the 4-play punt. That was the one that was just you got to give Josh Allen some criticism here. What is he doing taking that sack? I think they were on the 20, if I recall, I think it was the 28-yard line, or maybe it was the 32-yard line. It was right around about the 30-yard line. And, you're in field goal range. And then he scrambles and he's looking for the home run play, right? You can see him. He scrambles and he's back there. He's cocking. He's looking. He wants to throw the home run ball. Credit him. He didn't throw it. He's had a knack in his career of throwing those and, making ill-advised decisions and those possibly leading to interceptions. Even the one last week against the Rams, I know he wasn't fully scrambling there, but, he threw up an ill-advised ball there. Although that was really actually a really bad call by the ref, to be fair. That was definitely a catch by that Bills wide receiver. But going with what the call was, and I think it was an ill-advised throw. He avoided the ill-advised throw, but why does he not throw that ball away? If you can just throw the ball away there, kick that field goal. Now it's 33-16. That's a 3-possession game, and it is definitely over. At 30-16, it's kind of a game. Like I said, I felt like it was kind of over, but if you go up 33-16, 3 possessions, that's a ball game. You don't have to sweat out a late garbage touchdown by the Raiders and have to sweat out an onside kick. You don't have to do that. So Josh Allen just got to make a better decision there. Again, I don't know what he's doing there. I mean, he's trying to make the home run play. I understand. That's what Bills fans love about Josh Allen is that hero, and he's fighting for everything that he normally does. But you just can't do that. You got to be aware of where you are on the field, where you are in terms of the clock. I think at that point there was 7 minutes and 20 seconds to go in the game. You go up 3 scores with 7 minutes to go in the game with this stout defense that normally, shows up every week. You're not going to lose that ball game. So he's got to cut that mistake out. But overall, again, 288 yards on 71% completion completions, 3 total touchdowns, no interceptions. Another outstanding game from Josh Allen. A game where Bills fans were certainly nervous there when he went down with that shoulder injury. I mean, he made a great play there. That's a play that, signifies Josh Allen, right? That Bills fans love. He fights for everything. He's just a fighter. He's a leader. There's a reason why this team rallies around him. He gets the most out of all his guys because he gives you the most out of everything that he's got. But if he goes down injured in that play, I know every Bills fan was absolutely worried when he went down. You're thinking, oh no, Matt Barkley is going to come in and we're going to probably lose this game. We've seen enough of Matt Barkley to know how this script goes. But Josh Allen bounced back. We don't know. Maybe they'll get a bye week here with the Titans game coming up, obviously. So maybe Josh Allen will get some extra time. But the fact that he was able to come back, whether the Titans game is played on Sunday or not, I'm sure Josh Allen will certainly be on a corner there, or under quarterback, under center there for the game for the Titans next week, should it be played. So yeah, just another outstanding game. Like I said, looked easy there in the first half. Big plays there by Andre Roberts, big plays by Diggs, and then Beasley and Brown. A couple other things, a couple other notes. Let me see if there's any comments, and I've got 2 other points I want to give you guys before we go. All right, so no comments, so let's scroll. 2 other things I want to talk about before we sign off here that are noteworthy here. Noticed when Brian Winters, the right guard, exited the game due to injury, that was an opportunity for them to take Cody Ford, flip him over to right guard because Quentin Spann came in. Quentin Spann played every snap almost last season at left guard. So obviously he's completely comfortable and that's his preferred position. That's where he played up under the Tennessee Titans, that he is a left guard. They didn't do that with Cody Ford. So I think that's a really big sign that they left Cody Ford at left guard and instead Spann went up in that right guard position. So it looks like they're obviously extremely happy with the production they're getting out of Cody Ford at that left guard position. It'll be interesting to see what happens when Feliciano comes back. I think with Feliciano's toughness and grit, I think he's more of what they look for. Certainly, I think more in the run game. I think he's an upgrade over Winters there at the right guard spot. So it'll just be interesting. I think Feliciano doesn't have as big of a drop-off in terms of pass protection as a Brian Winters. So now we know, because that was definitely a prime opportunity for them to flip Cody Ford over to that right guard spot, and they didn't do it. So I think when you see Feliciano come back, Ford will certainly stay at that left guard spot. And then it's just, does Feliciano overtake Winters for the right guard, or do they just keep what's generally going? I mean, Josh Allen, for the most part, has, on more plays than not, has a lot of time to sit back, read the coverage, make the accurate throw. So just be interested to see what they do there. And then the last point I want to get to you guys here is Tyler Bass. Tyler Bass missing that extra point when it was 23-16. It could have been 24-16. That's a huge missed extra point because, we talk about here on these post-game shows about the Sean McDermott press conference. He hasn't had his yet tonight, so we don't know what he's going to say. But before we got off of when we did the post-game show here on week 1, when obviously he missed his first 2 career kicks there against the Jets, Sean McDermott talked about how he still has confidence in his kicker. There's no worries there. They trust him. He's going to say that. Whenever he holds this press conference tonight, if he's asked a question, he's going to instill that his belief and his confidence in the kicker. I'm telling you right now, this is definitely starting to become a worrisome problem for the Bills because this is going to get into Tyler Bass's head. And if they have to rely on him late in the game, I'm not sure if this kid can come through. I mean, he's a rookie, missed some kicks in week 1. He obviously was good in week 2 and week 3, but missed the point extra attempt. He's just not consistent. He's not Steven Hauschka. Steven Hauschka, he doesn't have the leg. At this point, give me the more consistent Hauschka over the big giant leg, of Tyler Bass. I know Hauschka's now been signed, so he's not a free agent, so it's not even an option. I'm just talking in terms of consistency or leg power. Boy, I want a guy that when he steps on the field, the other 10 guys around him know that this ball is going to go up through that uprights. And I don't think, despite what Sean McDermott may say in a press conference, if you were to ask these players honestly, if they're going to answer the question honestly, I think there's some confidence issues that the other 52 players would have in Tyler Bass. So I just keep an eye on. Let's just see how Tyler Bass handles himself over the next few weeks. I'd like to see him go 3, 4, 5 weeks of clean, whatever he gets, whether it's point extra attempts or field goals. I'd like to see him just make it. Even his field goal attempt there in that Jets game when he did bounce back, man, they were just right up on the left upright. I mean, just not kicking things, doesn't have to be right down the middle, but just not as accurate as you would expect an NFL kicker. So that's something we want to keep an eye on. All right, guys, that's the post-game show tonight. Don't forget, we do these every Sunday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. I'm a writer over at buffalodown.com. In this video description, there's a link to that website. You can view all my articles over there. I've got articles that come out throughout the entire week on feature-related material, but then every Friday, as you guys can see again, I give a daily sports betting advice. There's an article that comes out every Friday where I look at the spread and the over-under and look at trends going into the game. So that article comes out every Friday morning. If you're interested in sports betting video, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. Again, I give out daily sports betting advice. But either way, go ahead and like this video, and I'll see you guys on Thursday on the pregame show. We do those at 3:30 p.m. Eastern time. Hopefully we'll have one this week. We'll be talking about the Titans game. We'll see if that game can happen. And if so, I'll see you guys Thursday at 3:30 p.m. Eastern time. Enjoy the win. 4-0 Buffalo Bills after the first quarter of the season, moving to 4-0. That's outstanding. This offense is clicking, and the defense had themselves a great day. Enjoy this win, Bills fans, and I'll see you guys Thursday at 3:30 p.m. Eastern time.